Hello again, precious friends. You know, it's been a long time since I've had a rant. I guess I'm due. And today I want to talk about, beef processing. And by processing, I mean slaughter. Where this all started was I was recently chatting on a carnivore Facebook group that I'm a member of, and another member asked the group about pink slime with regards to meat, hamburger meat, and that stands for it's FTLB is the industry name for it, and that stands for finely textured lean beef. And they want to know whether they could trust the FDA's description of it. Well, that got a lot of reaction, and most of it was like, ew, and oh, don't touch it, it's evil. And, a lot of other visceral reactions of disgust, but no real information that I could see. So, I thought, silly me, that I'd basically answer the question. So I described what pink slime is and how it's manufactured, which is basically beef trimmings, which are tiny little pieces of beef that are too small to really make anything out of, are basically pureed and put through a special press to remove as much connective tissue as possible. And then the puree is mixed with warm water and it's centrifuged to remove as much fat as possible, right? Nothing too shocking. But it's at this point that it begins to be called pink slime because it's pink and slimy. But the reality of it is any beef that had been that finely pureed and treated in that way would appear to be pink and slimy. That's the nature of protein, right? Well, pink slime is actually a term that was invented by a journalist who was trying to write an article implying that there was something basically dishonest or unwholesome about the process. And the journalist was trying to invent a term, the most disgusting term possible to gross out the readers, and it pretty much worked. There's nothing actually dangerous or unwholesome about the color pink in and of itself, and nothing really wrong with the texture of sliminess. There's lots of normally slimy things about all kinds of bodies that's not inherently unhealthful, but you call something pink slime and a bunch of people have a problem with it apparently, and they don't even really know why. Well, here's where it actually does get problematic for some people, and I understand that. When the FTLB is processed, after that, in some cases, it's exposed for a short time to ammonia gas, which reacts with the water in the beef to produce ammonium hydroxide, which is basically an antimicrobial. That product, the treated or the ammoniated pink slime, is then mixed in with ground beef for two reasons. One is to standardize the amount of lean tissue in the ground beef, for instance, to actually ensure that your 80-20 ground beef is actually 80% lean, for example. And the other reason is as a microbial inhibitor. It inhibits spoilage during storage and distribution, keeps the meat edible longer. Some companies use citric acid solutions mixed into the meat instead, but the purpose is the same. It's an antimicrobial agent, right? And I also pointed out that the amount of ammonia present in FTLB treated ground beef is actually less than naturally occurring ammonia that's found in fermented foods like salami and blue cheese and fermented fish and soy products. But yet no one is having a conversation about whether or not those foods are dangerous to eat because of ammonia. Well, I got dogpiled, despite the fact that not once did I actually advocate for the consumption of pink slime. I simply quoted some facts that anybody could have looked up. But interestingly, as I continued reading, it became clear that what was actually upsetting most of the people who were posting wasn't the fact that ammonia was being used. It appeared what was upsetting them was the fact that antimicrobial agents were being routinely used in beef processing at all. One poster even wrote in all caps, "They use this stuff so they can sell meat that has actually touched poop." And at that point, Lord help me, I just had to laugh. Anyone who's hunted and cleaned or dressed their own prey, or who's lived on a farm and taken part in the harvest and slaughter of food animals, knows that, in general, food animals live outside and they have large abdominal cavities that are filled with gastrointestinal contents, aka digesta and feces, poop. The idea that one should be able to slaughter large food animals without any risk of any part of the carcass being touched by gastrointestinal contents is just unrealistic, to put it gently. The further idea that any meat so touched by gastrointestinal contents is irretrievably contaminated and permanently unfit for human consumption is laughable. Yeah, I know. I can hear the gasps now. Perhaps some people are naively unaware that this is perfectly ordinary in the slaughter of food animals, especially large ruminants. Food-grade antimicrobials are used throughout the process of animal slaughter. Commercial food animal processing would not be possible if they weren't. Just to illustrate my point, let's look at the volumes of the gastrointestinal tracts of a couple of common food animals as compared to people, compared to humans. So a human male about 180 pounds, I'm just picking that as a median weight for, a good sized human being. 180 pound guy, right? They'll have about 2.75 gallons total volume of gastrointestinal tract. So if a person's eating regularly, at least once a day, and eating, sufficient volume of food, at a given time could have almost 3 gallons of intestinal contents. That is about 1 gallon per each 65.5 pounds of body mass, or easier to visualize is about 1/4 cup of gastrointestinal contents per 1 pound of body mass, right? And this is not just muscle, but all body mass, fat, bone, skin, all the other bodily organs as well, right? So let's look at a pig. A pig slaughter weight is about 275 pounds. And a pig will have 7 gallons or so of gastrointestinal contents. Average size slaughtered pig can have as much as that easily, sometimes more, sometimes up to 12 gallons, depending on the size of the pig. But that averages out to about a gallon of gastrointestinal contents to each 40 pounds of body mass, thereabouts, or about between a third and a half a cup of gastrointestinal contents per pound of body mass. So it goes up a little bit. And pigs are way more similar in their gastrointestinal tract than to humans than cows are. So let's look at a ruminant. In a goat or a sheep, at about 75 pounds of slaughter weight, will have approximately 3 gallons of gastrointestinal contents, or a gallon per each 25 pounds of body mass. So it's going up. The amount of gastrointestinal contents, the ratio of gastrointestinal contents per body mass is going up. Okay. That's about 2/3 of a cup per pound of body mass. Okay. So let's get to our favorite food animal of all, the cow or the steer. Average slaughter weight of a steer, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is about between 1,375 and 1,400 pounds. Right? Okay, friends, we got to get realistic here. Your average cow at the time of slaughter can contain as much as 90 gallons of gastrointestinal contents. 90 gallons. That is a gallon of gastrointestinal contents for each 15 pounds of body mass, which is about a cup and which is about 9 ounces over a cup, almost 9 ounces over a cup of gastrointestinal contents per pound of body mass. And that's not per pound of meat, that's per pound of body mass. Skin, bone, hooves, teeth, lungs, other organs, everything. Okay? So if you were to take it, I didn't do the calculations for meat, but if you took it, if you wanted to know how much in relation to the meat, it's a lot more. Okay? So if anybody realistically thinks that commercial cattle slaughter can be reasonably and cost-effectively accomplished without any part of the carcass being touched by that 90 gallons of gastrointestinal contents, and if they further believe that the meat processors are going to be able to afford to throw away any carcass that has been so touched, they're just laboring under an infantile level of naivete. Food-grade antimicrobial solutions make low-cost sanitary beef processing possible. The occurrence of foodborne illness from ground beef plummeted when antimicrobials came into widespread use in the beef industry. Food-grade antimicrobials make beef affordable for everyone in the U.S., including those with low incomes, who are often the sickest among us and thus in the most desperate need of affordable, nutritious food. You know, if you don't want ammonia in your meat, that is fair, okay? Look for an organic brand. In the US, organic brands must use citric acid, okay? Or look for a company that's already switched away from ammonia due to consumer demand. Cargill, whatever you want to say about it, has already made the switch in many of its facilities. So, my friends, I love you all, but let's grow up. The reality is, if you have eaten commercially slaughtered beef, whether it's pastured or grass-finished or organic or any other kind, no matter how fancy it is, you have eaten beef that has been touched by gastrointestinal content and has subsequently been safely and effectively sanitized and made safe for human consumption by antimicrobial solutions. You just have. And if you expect to have continued access to affordable beef without having to resort to slaughtering your own, food-grade antimicrobials are going to remain a part of that. Okay? That's the end of my rant. I love you all, and I wish you peace, love, and continued access to inexpensive, wholesome, sanitary beef. Bye-bye.